Hello and welcome back. I'll just take this off. Just had my 60th birthday recently, and my dear wife bought me the power cap, which is absolutely smashing. So thanks to Linda for that. Just thought I'd pass that on. It's a brilliant piece of kit, and I don't have a rough voice when I've finished turning anymore. This is great. So just one thing to celebrate on my 60th. So this project video is slightly different to some of the others. Those of you with eagle eyes will have noticed that I'm wearing a Yorkshire Grit polo shirt, and that my channel is now sponsored by Yorkshire Grit. I've been using the product for some time, and there are plenty of videos, including some of mine, showing you how to use it. What I'm going to do in this video though is show you some different finishes with Yorkshire Grit and different ways of using it. So what I've done to make the video is I've made 4 spindles up, handily labelled them 1, 2, 3 and 4, and what I've done is 1 and 3 are sealed with Danish oil, and 2 and 4 are sealed with the chestnut acrylic sanding sealer, spray on acrylic sanding sealer. Now when you're using Yorkshire Grit, it says to seal the wood before using it. It doesn't matter really what you seal the wood with. What you're trying to do is give the wood a drink. So in the case of 1 and 3, I've used Danish oil. Now the only reason to seal the wood before you start using Yorkshire Grit is purely so that when you start using the grit, all the oils in the Yorkshire Grit don't vanish into the wood. It's as simple as that. So Danish oil should be fine, but I've got some walnut and some ash, and what I'm going to do is try different ways of doing things. So as I say, 1 and 3 are sealed with Danish oil, 2 and 4 are sealed with spray on acrylic sanding sealer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Yorkshire Grit on them all, and then I'm going to finish them differently. So I'm going to finish 1 with melamine lacquer and 3 with acrylic lacquer, and then I'll reverse it on the others so you get the differences in the wood. So I'll use acrylic lacquer on 2, and I'll use melamine lacquer on 4, and that way you get the 2 different lacquers on the 2 different finishes, on top of what is essentially a wax. So I'm going to be using Yorkshire Grit, which has waxes in it, and then finishing with a lacquer. It'll be an interesting experience to see just what happens and how it takes it. I am going to take as much care as I can in preparing the pieces before I use the lacquer at the end, but obviously when we've finished should have 4 nice spindles coated, hopefully nicely in lacquer. So let's get to the lathe, get the Yorkshire Grit out and see what we can do. So here we are with number 1. I'm going to treat them all exactly the same way. Get some Yorkshire Grit on the cloth, and I'm going to put that on manually just to start with, and just coat the spindle well. Remember, this is one of the 2 that I've sealed with Danish oil, or at least applied Danish oil to. Put plenty on, liberally covering like so, and then I'm going to spin up the lathe and work that in using the same piece of paper towel. Why waste the wax that we already have? So you can hear it working there. So now the friction that's being created by the grit is slowly working everything into finer and finer pieces. You can hear already it doesn't sound quite as noisy as it did at the beginning. I'm working it well in. and this should take the finish down to about 1000 grit. So I've got plenty on there. Let's move to a slightly cleaner area of cloth, and I'm not hearing it as much now, so it's obviously working quite nicely. So what I'm going to do now is get a fresh piece of paper towel, and just carry on working it. Walnut always seems very good with abrasives. It's always nice to work with. So I'm getting still a little bit off on the paper towel. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the lathe up a little bit, and I'm just going to continue working now until nothing is coming off, and we're virtually there. And I'm happy with that now. So let's see what that feels like. And it feels very, very smooth indeed, like glass. So that's worked really well, even though we used an oil underneath it rather than sanding sealer. When you finish with the sanding sealer or the oil, there's no need to knock back, of course, because you're going to be doing that with the Yorkshire Grit anyway, so give the grit something to hold on to, as it were. But that's number 1 finished. I'll get that off the lathe and I'll get the others done and come back to you. So here are the 4 spindles just pre-treated with Yorkshire Grit. Now, the reason I've chosen spindles like this is because I'm sort of looking at doing different things with making pens and different finishes, because I'm getting a bit fed up of CA. It feels plastic instead of wooden, so I'm sort of getting a bit, I don't know, I'm going off it. Anyway, these are the 4 spindles. This is number 1. That's been sealed with Danish oil and then Yorkshire Grit. And number 3 the same, and they are nice. They feel exactly as they should do with a wax on. Number 4 and number 2 exactly the same. They've had about 10 minutes to dry, and it hasn't made the slightest bit of difference either way to the finish. 3 and 4 feel the same, and 1 and 2 feel the same. They've got different sealers on. So that's them done, and as you can see, they're quite shiny at the moment. You can see there, if I put a light on them, they've got a waxy sheen to them. So what I'm going to do now is get them back on the lathe, and I'm going to spray them with either melamine or straightforward acrylic lacquer. But I'm going to do something different for 2 of them, which you'll see in a minute. So here's number 1. All I'm going to do with this is just give it a wipe. Make sure there's no excess dust or material on there. That's all I'm going to do with it. And I'm going to spray that with acrylic gloss lacquer. So this is straight on top of wax. And we're going to let that dry. Just cut it back and then put another coat on, and we'll do the same with all of them. So this is number 2. We're going to finish this with the melamine lacquer. But what I'm going to do on this one, and I'll do the same for the others as well. This one's been finished in sanding sealer, of course. What I'm going to do before I put the lacquer on is I'm just going to wipe it with methylated spirits just to clean off the top surface of the wax and degrease before I put the lacquer on. So that's all I've done, so that's the difference, and I'll do the same in reverse on the other two. So I've got a melamine gloss lacquer here, and just the same I'm going to coat this one coat and put it aside to dry. So this is number 3, which you'll remember was finished with Danish oil and then Yorkshire Grit. And as a reverse of the other one, I'm going to clean this with methylated spirits before I spray the acrylic sanding sealer on. The methylated spirits, or denatured alcohol if you prefer, doesn't take very long to evaporate, which is done. So this one's getting coated with acrylic gloss lacquer. So this is Danish oil, Yorkshire Grit, cleaned off with methylated spirits and then sprayed with gloss lacquer, acrylic gloss lacquer. And this is number 4. Number 4 was sealed with acrylic spray sanding sealer, then Yorkshire Grit. I'm not going to clean it, I'm just going to wipe it off, make sure there's nothing, no grit or anything on the surface, like so. And here we go, this is melamine lacquer. So I've let the lacquer dry, and what I'm going to do now is just finish it off and burnish it with a bit more Yorkshire Grit. So again, just liberally applying the Yorkshire Grit to the piece. And then with the lathe running slowly, same piece of paper towel, just working the Yorkshire Grit. Again, you can hear it's all gone very quiet as the abrasive has done its work. So just using a cleaner piece. And there's virtually nothing coming off on that now. So what I'm going to do is just turn it up and burnish that off. And I hope you can see the shine that's coming off this. And that is absolutely beautiful. Lovely finish. Right, I'll do the other 3 and I'll come back to you. So, 4 spindles, not 4 candles, 4 spindles, and I'm going to try and get all these right. I don't know how many of you ever watched the Danny Kaye film, The Court Jester. One of my favourite scenes in there with the vessel from the pestle holds the potion with the poison, and the flagon with the dragon holds the brew that is true, and all that stuff. This is pretty much like that. Anyway, here's number 1. You can see it's got a nice sheen to it. It's not overly shiny. This was sealed with Danish oil, no methylated spirits to degrease, and finished with acrylic sanding sealer. This is number 2. This was sanding sealer based, had methylated spirits to degrease, and then melamine lacquer to finish off, a little shinier than the acrylic lacquer. At number 3, this was sealed with Danish oil, methylated spirits used, and the acrylic lacquer on top, again more of a sheen than a shine. And then number 4 here, sanding sealer, no methylated spirits, and a melamine finish. So what have I learned? Well, it doesn't seem to matter how you do it. I was really quite surprised. I thought spraying acrylic lacquer onto a wax was going to give me some problems. It appears not to have done, whether I degrease or not. So I'm going to experiment a little bit more. And I know this has been a very product centric video, but I was going to do the experiments anyway, and I thought, well, I may as well share it. There may be some people out there who will find it useful, so I hope you have found it useful. My next video will be my giveaway. Over this last couple of weeks I reached my kilo sub, as I like to call it, 1024 subs. If there's no geeking, you ask a geek and they'll tell you. But that is quite a milestone for me, and I've got a couple of really nice prizes to give away, and I'll be doing that over the next week or so, so watch out for it, and I will ship those wherever they need to go. So please keep watching, watch the next video for the giveaway, and in that video I'll also show you the square purple heart bowl that I turned a couple of projects ago to show you how the colour has changed. Thanks very much to all of you who've subscribed and continue to follow the channel. It's wonderful to have you along, and I continue to be humbled by the amount of people watching the channel. I hope you found this one useful, and until the next time, thanks very much for watching, and bye for now.